Hello everyone, I'm day weather meteorologist Don Day with your Public Lands Council weekly weather update, brought to you this week by WSR Insurance Services Incorporated and Ag Risk Advisors. As we take a look ahead, now that we're into the new year, boy, I tell you, the last 4 weeks have been pretty wild across the western United States. We had an early to mid-December blizzard across the northern plains and northern Rockies. Then we had a huge Arctic outbreak. Then we had a pretty good New Year's weekend snowstorm. And then since then, we've seen huge storms hit the West Coast. And that is ultimately, in the long, big picture of things, really good news. And there's more rain and snow coming for California, the Pacific Northwest, and Rockies, at least for another 10 days. We're going to continue to see storms streaming across the Pacific, heading into California, bringing the Sierra Nevada. Some heavy snows to help the snowpack. Snowpacks, as we'll show you here in a minute, are off to a fabulous start. And while we don't expect any heavier precipitation to get too far east off the West Coast, there will still be some snow in the Rockies and the Pacific Northwest over the next 7 to 10 days. But not a lot of snow and rain will get east of the divide. Just adjacent, just east of the Front Range of the Rockies, into the plains, there will be some snow chances, but nothing really heavy, at least for this week ahead. There'll be some, but not a lot. It'll be the West Coast. It'll be California, the Great Basin states, and parts of the Southwest United States that get the most wet. Now, since it's a Pacific-dominated pattern, temperatures really are not going to be that cold. The Arctic air is on hold for now. We do think Arctic air is going to come back before the month's over, and certainly it will in February. But for the next 7 to 10 days, temperatures will be moderate, meaning they're going to be close to average. That still means it's going to be pretty chilly, but we don't expect any severe cold. Taking a look at the last 7 days, a couple of areas to highlight. Some badly needed moisture came into this area right here, mostly in the form of snow, and this was mostly that New Year's weekend storm. And then look at the heavy precipitation in the Pacific Northwest, then to areas along and west of the divide. This area here, very stormy, very wet, huge amounts of snow, feet of snow have fallen in the mountains. And look at how much precipitation in the last 2 weeks has fallen in California. Where you see purple, it has rained more than 15 inches, or the combination of rain and snow. So this is going to do absolute wonders to help mitigate the drought in California, as well as into the Great Basin states as well, and parts of the Rockies as that moisture stretches inland. Look at what's fallen in the past 2 weeks in terms of snow. Pretty impressive across the Intermountain West. There we have that band of heavier snow that fell across the plains over New Year's weekend. Taking a look at snowpack figures, they are off to a fabulous start. Now, there are a few areas, like right here, where the heavier moisture has not been able to reach the mountains, here in southeastern Wyoming as well. But for the rest of the West, look at the dark blue. If it's dark blue, snowpacks are more than 150% of average. Look at that 300 here up in northwest Oregon. Look at the Sierra Nevada of California, 200% or more of normal. And that's a lot of water. And look at Utah, which has been kind of ground zero in many aspects for the drought over the last couple of years. They're getting a lot of snow, and they're going to continue to get more. We just see a wave train, we call it, one low after another, one storm after another, coming in, hitting the West Coast, then heading inland, then moving across the Midwest and the central areas of the United States. So this is what we're looking at this weekend. Rain will move back into northern California, the Pacific Northwest with mountain snows. This little system right here coming out of the Rockies will produce a little bit of weather into the Midwest and eventually New England later on. But it's a westerly flow, no flow of air coming in from the Arctic. So this will keep our temperatures moderate. Now, by the time frame we get into the middle of next week, one of those lows comes off the West Coast, and we may have a bit of a more organized storm across the central plains and the central and northern high plains around the Wednesday, Thursday timeframe of next week. So livestock interests will want to watch that. At that point in time, there's a little bit of a break with some high pressure in the Great Basin, but here comes the next low, swinging out of the North Pacific, right back into California, Washington, and Oregon again. And then by next weekend, we continue to see the barrage hitting the West Coast, and these storms right here may have a better opportunity to come further eastward into the Central Rockies and High Plains, really around or after the 15th and 16th. We do expect maybe that's when east of the divide, better chances of precipitation will be coming our way. And then over the next 7 days, this is what it looks like with moisture. Notice that adjacent to the Front Range and out in the plains, there's really very little moisture. A little, not a lot, but all the heavier moisture is coming inland to areas along and west of the divide. So very wet conditions there. We'll continue to see an easing of drought conditions as these heavy rains and snows are going to really help push the water levels up on those very depleted reservoirs in the far west. Snowfall outlook for the next 7 days looks like this as well, really focusing on the mountains and areas along and west of the divide. Have yourself a good week ahead. Talk to you next week.